Soundstripe.
Trying to get a lot of dough. Anything is possible. Turn me up in the headphone.
Soundstripe.
Yeah. Trying to get a lot of dough and dirt through all the obstacles, cause anything is possible. Yeah. Oh man, I got a lot of gold. Stack that bread and vomit nose. Anything is possible. Yeah. Trying to get a lot of dough.
I'm your host, Ricky G. Stanley, and I hope everybody's doing marvelous. We've had some monumental things to go on in the sports world, and we had some non-monumental things. Let's start with the non-monumental thing first. That is breaking news. Urban Meyer was fired about 3.5 hours ago. It was just 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Be very transparent about Urban Meyer. He had me fooled. I got a buddy that despises him, and he was telling me some things about him, and I was like, maybe his opinion's a little biased because, he's an Ohio State fan. But those things started to, show its head over time. And he was like, yeah, he's an arrogant prick and all this stuff. And I was like, okay. But the fact that those things started to show, and I was like, well, maybe he is on to something, because like he said it twice, and I'm looking like, all right, I take your word for it. But he was fired at 13, right at 13 games. And I personally feel that he was not fired. It had nothing to do with losing football games. You can have like a 5-year span where you can build a program. As long as you show consistency and your fans and the upstairs offices back you, you will be fine. The fact that if you go 2-14 in your first year, but you showed some promise and you get into the draft, and the next year you go at 6-10, and then after that you turn around and you probably go, 9-7, and then find your way into the playoffs. He didn't do that. Like I said, and he solely was beheaded as the head coach because of the fact that he had things outside of football. So I checked this out. Marvin Jones, which is not a very outspoken guy, but him and Marvin Jones had a big blow up in practice, and the fact that it was certain things he said to Marvin Jones and he criticized him about. And the thing is, Marvin Jones was so upset about this argument that he was not going to come back to the facility. And, some of the other people and players had to talk him back into it. And like I said, that's one player. Okay, all right. It gets worse. So the second thing, he had a kicker. And the kicker, he's off the team now. But he was warming up, and one game, in practice, Urban Meyer decided to say something to him. It was like, hey, stop missing kicks. But that's the PG-13 version of it. It was a lot more vulgar. However, this started when this kicker had missed 2 to 3 field goals in the preseason. So Urban Meyer proceeded to go up to him in practice a couple weeks later. So him start making his kicks. But he also kicked him in, I think, the thigh. But he was stretching and lunging at the same time. And when he broke this news, he said, hey, it wasn't like, he kicked me like a horse. He said, but out of 5 out of 10. But he could have kicked me harder. But the fact that he did it, and I'm a grown man, and as another grown man, I would be like, hey, you can't do that. Or I would have lost my job. I probably would have, gave him some nice chin music. But his response was, I'm the head coach, and I kind of do what I want to do. Not in the world of grown men. He just luckily, he survived that one. The third one, which I felt like it was kind of bad, because like, you can't insult your coaches, collectively. So they were in a meeting, and he said, hey, you guys are all losers. I'm a winner. And you guys have never won anything. And I'm looking like, okay, you have an argument with a kicker, and you kick a kicker, which is the irony of that. How could I forget? He had a game that they lost, and turned around, he let the team go back home. He didn't take the plane, and then he was caught on the news with some young lady in his lap, or close to his lap, which was not his wife. So, like, it's not a good look. So, like, that, the kicker situation, the coaching, they just had enough, and the head people was like, you know what, this is too much, and decided to let him go in 13 games, which I felt like I said, it had nothing to do with football. This was just solely this Urban Meyer been a prick. But let's get on to some monumental stuff. Monumental. Deion Sanders is the coach at Jackson State, and I feel like Deion Sanders is changing the wave of Jackson State football and historically black colleges as well. This week he pulled off the #1 overall recruit and got him to come to Jackson State. This kid had Florida State, Miami, some other big names up there, and he elected to go to Jackson State. However, this didn't just start here. It turned around that he got one of his sons from South Carolina. He played for South Carolina. I think he was like a rotating safety. He had like 70 tackles. He wasn't playing bad, and I'm pretty sure by the time, the following year, he would have been the guy. He elected to go play for his father. There's nothing to do with, this is my dad. I feel like he believed in what he was trying to do there. Shiloh, which is the quarterback, a 4-star quarterback, elected to turn down other schools and go to Jackson State. Now, these guys can go to bigger schools and, get a lot of notoriety and get to the draft, but they felt like they believed in what he's trying to do there. So he got his 2 sons, and now he got the #1 overall player. Now, he has other players there, too, that can play pretty well. I watched them play. They went 11-1 in their season this year. And I watched them play in the COVID season. I think they had like 5 games. And I was watching. I was like, he got something here. Like, those guys are playing for him. And they'll run through a brick wall for him. And, so you kind of love to see that type of environment. However, Landon Travis Hunter was not no big thing. But I really felt like he believed in what they're doing. The culture is different. And I feel like the experience that he's going to get at that school is going to be like no other. So shout out to you, Travis Hunter. And I feel like as time goes along, bigger name players are not settling for the Alabamas, the Michigans, the Ohio States. I remember at one time, people didn't think they can get drafted unless they went to one of these bigger schools. Nobody, all big time players are not going to Miami now. They're going to smaller schools and tearing it up. Like, Chris Johnson came out of East Carolina. Before that, East Carolina had some good seasons, but he tore it up that year and got in the first round. David Garrod, good quarterback. So I was like, I think the culture is changing in historically black schools. I think they're starting to pull in more bigger athletes. However, last but not least, Steph Curry broke the 3-point record this week. First of all, I'm a big fan of Steph Curry because he's from the Charlotte, North Carolina area, even though he's born in Akron. I remember him playing at Davidson College when I was in college, and I was like, this dude's gonna be pretty good. I had no idea he was gonna be this good. I feel like Steph Curry is the best generation player of his generation. So, like, if you have Kobe came in 96. His generation was a little different because I want to say Steph didn't come into like 2010. LeBron came in 2003. That was a different generation. His generation, I feel like, it doesn't matter with the Kevin Durant, Westbrooks. I have Steph Curry over all of them. It's not because of just skill. It's what he did for the NBA. Everybody is trying to do the moves and shoot from 35 feet, effortlessly like he's doing. Look at Damian Lillard. He wasn't doing that until Steph did it. Paul George is pulling up from deep range now. It's just like he changed the way the NBA is going for the future. Everybody wants to shoot threes. Big men are no longer on the court if they can't shoot now. So, like, he actually transitioned the game into a more of a scoring league. So, like I said, I watched Ray Allen. He proudly passed the torch to Steph Curry the other night. And I feel like when it's all said and done, the way he's shooting at this high rate, Steph Curry, hands down, it's not even close. He's the best shooter ever. The greatest shooter to shoot a basketball. Like I said, some people are built to score like Kobe. Some, we got Jordan. Some people are built to dominate like Shaquille O'Neal. However, like I said, Steph was just built to just shoot the basketball. I mean, he can shoot it falling out of bounds. And I also watched him closely. As long as he lines his feet up he's going to knock it in. So, like I said, shout out to Steph Curry. No slack to Kevin Durant or those other guys, but they're not going to do what Steph is doing. Like I said, Kevin Durant is a pure scorer, but he ain't doing what Steph is doing. I'm biased. Oh, well. Kevin Durant or, everyone else is watching, if you think differently, put in the comments below. Also, if he is healthy and he get 2 more championships, I'm going to go on a limb and say he's going to be an all-time top 5 player. That's my personal opinion. However, for everybody else, I feel like at least the real analysts that watch basketball, I think he's going to at least be in their top 10. I'll put him in my 5 just because, like I said, I watched him since, he was at Davidson. But at least all-time great, I feel like he'll at least be in most people's top 10. But, if he stays healthy and over time, he's going to win a couple more championships, especially with Klay Thompson coming back. I feel like he could do it. Keep it up, Steph. Stay healthy, and in due time, we will find out. Will he make that list of the top 10 greatest players of all time? But as for time, this is mine. I'm your host, Ricky G. Stanley, and I am
Get a lot of dough. Anything is possible. Turn me up in the headphone.
Soundstripe.
Yeah. Grind to get a lot of dough and dirt through all the obstacles, cause anything